What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Maverick Man 101. We have a video here today from Justice Arena. She thought paternity fraud was a good idea until she was proven wrong. Let's go.
All rise. Judge Vanderbeek Court is now in session. Judge, this is case number JVB 1019, Canada case. Judge, both parties have been sworn.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You all may be seated. Okay, Miss Canada. All right. You brought this case before the court. What's going on?
I'm seeking child support and back pay from this man.
Okay, just straightforward. That's what I like. Just get right into it. How old is the child?
The child is now 3 years old.
3 years old.
And I have not received any child support.
In 3 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Sir, is there a reason you haven't given her any child support in the past 3 years?
Yes, ma'am, there is.
What is that?
We've been discussing the paternity obligation.
Okay.
Under the circumstances, you know, I don't think I was the only person having a fling with Rocky at the time that you know, she and I had that time together.
Oh, boy.
And,
Excuse me? Are you implying something?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that I understand that you may have been seeing some other people in addition to me. And the reason that I haven't provided
Well, those are rumors.
I understand
First of
that.
all.
I understand that.
Second
But
of
you
all.
haven't complied with my request for DNA test either, and that's my key. Is that if I have an obligation, I like to make sure it is my obligation and not the obligation of some other father.
Absolutely right. Sorry to stop it so quick, but I just wanted to really quickly dive into this. And I mean, you know, we've looked at a couple different cases on this channel. We looked at a couple different divorce cases and we talked through them. The one thing interesting about this case so far, right, is this guy saying, hey, look, you know, I think she was with other guys. So I want to make sure that before I take on this responsibility, that this responsibility is attached to me, right? That it is mine, that the child is mine. And you see how quickly, two things, right? I feel like every time we discussed a case on this channel, the woman's always interrupting the man or the judge, just extremely unruly in court. That's number one. Number two is the fact that he has a valid argument, right? We've heard a lot of different things. We've seen a lot of different stories coming out of not just paternity fraud in this country, but in other countries where they've tried to change laws and people have tried to revolt against it. I think France was one of those places where they tried to revolt against it. And, you know, in this type of case, this guy's like, hey, look, I think she was with other men. And I don't want to sit here paying for a child that isn't mine. And I just don't see how we allow this to happen where that doesn't logically make sense, right? Let's go back. Last thing real quick, man. It's always women just, she look like an ostrich, right? It's always women like that. No disrespect to her, but I'm just saying, man, it's just, you know, it's always women like that. Men always tend to think that it's the baddies wilding out. Nah, it be plain Jane ostrich looking chicks out here wilding.
I understand that,
Second
but
of
you
all.
haven't complied with my request for DNA test either, and that's my key. Is that if I have an obligation, I like to make sure it is my obligation and not the obligation of some other father.
Right.
Well, maybe you should have been obligated to your wife whenever you were having an affair with me.
You know,
wow.
you're right about that.
Wow.
And honest
So
truth
you
is
are
that,
admitting that you're married?
yes.
Okay.
And I've told her. I've told her that we had this fling.
You didn't
told
tell
your
me you
wife
were
that?
married until after.
That's correct. That's correct. I did not tell you.
I'm sorry, I won't disrupt you guys anymore. Go ahead.
The alleged father argues that he hasn't paid child support because he is unsure if the child is his. He claims Miss Canada had other partners at the time, and she counters by pointing out his infidelity to his wife.
So, you know, from my perspective, Your Honor, I certainly understand the situation. I'm not trying to be hard-hearted, so to speak, about this, but I think that there's some other questions that need to be answered before we agree on paying any kind of support, because at this point, we haven't confirmed whose child this is.
Okay. Well,
I mean, really quickly, I get it. I don't condone cheating. No man nor woman should cheat. I just feel like at this point, that's completely irrelevant, ma'am. You're trying to pull these arguments out of thin air. Well, maybe not necessarily out of thin air, but what does that have to do with the paternity of the child, right? She's trying to pull heartstrings, right? Like, oh, if she was out there having it with other men, well, the one guy that she's sitting next to in court, she was having it with him. He just happened to be married, right? Now, no, you should not be cheating. But at this point, this is not a trial for, you know, how faithful somebody is in their marriage or infidelity, right? This is a case about the paternity of this child. So it's women, right? They like to bring things out of left field and just toss them to home plate, hoping that something hit, right? But, okay, fair point, right? Shouldn't have cheated. Or at least he should have just told her he was married from the get-go. And then she can make her decision from there, right? But do not condone the cheating part. Who's the father of this baby? That's
Well,
the
I
point.
definitely have some questions too, but I don't think they have anything to do with child support. It's more about you guys' backstory, but that has nothing to do with me. However, has this man taken a DNA test at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Did he sign anything at the hospital
No, he wasn't
acknowledging that he was the father? Okay. So he does have a valid point. Before we can actually place him on child support, he either has to accept parentage, which, according to what I'm hearing, you're really not accepting it.
there. He's in denial about his affair and doesn't want his wife to find out.
My wife knows.
Oh,
Yeah,
she
right.
knows now.
He's
She
lying.
You
would
told
have
her?
to at
I
this
would have heard
point.
from her by now. I work with him, ma'am.
Oh,
Oh, it's just getting worse.
at the welding place?
I'm a receptionist there.
Receptionist there, I'm a manager.
That's how we met.
You're her direct manager.
Bruh.
Okay.
Bruh.
Wasn't expecting that much tea this morning.
The courtroom becomes tense when Miss Canada reveals that she works with the man's wife at a welding plant. She doubts he has told his wife about their affair, escalating the emotional intensity of the case.
So, yeah, he's entitled to a DNA test.
Sure.
Okay, so before we can move forward with anything in terms of child support, looking at your financial documents you provided, he first needs to get a DNA test.
I just want to quickly go back. I mean, man, so he is the manager at this welding spot and he ends up messing with the receptionist. Just, whew. Now, I'd imagine that this has to have some sort of ramifications at his job as well, especially with them being on TV, this reality show support court stuff. I'm sure that his employer found out, and typically when there's something like this, there's always some sort of punishment that comes down. So that's number one. Just one, I mean, my goodness, don't cheat, right? Don't exercise your options. Or if you are, tell your wife, give her the option to decide however she wants to handle with it, right? I mean, if that's what you're going to do. But definitely don't do it at work, man. Or with somebody that you met at work. Man. Down bad. Down bad. Let's keep going.
So what I can do is you guys go and get the DNA test, then you can come back at a later date, possibly, if he's the father. If he's not the father, you are more than welcome to bring back as many people as necessary. I'm not implying by any means that what he's saying is true.
Right, he's
but if
definitely
he's
the
not
father.
the father, you can bring back as many people as necessary to get DNA testing, and we actually find the father and place him on child support.
Well, I know who it is, so that's not necessary, but thank you.
Okay. Is there anything further?
Your Honor, can we get your assistance in having this thing compelled so that
I think as well, I just wanted to. I mean, where's she at? Look at this face. Look at this face. I mean, she knew exactly what she was doing. I think the other thing as well. Look at the lady in the back. She judging mad hard. This guy is just like, oh yeah, yeah. I tell you what, and this happens a lot too with women. Sometimes when it's like they're close to that time of the month. A lot of times they're out there. They're having fun with. They're having fun with no hat. You get my drift, with more than one person, right? Before that time of the month, before Mercury goes in retrograde or whatever nonsense they come up with, there's a lot of times they're out there doing things with different men without the cap, right? If you get my drift. So she might be confident that this guy is the father, right? Clearly, this guy has some doubts, right? But I do think that there is, especially under the circumstances of how they met and how they hooked up, who knows who else she's been with, right? And again, men look at women like this and think that, oh, she ain't doing nothing. She's plain Jane. And she'd be out there, you know, bent over backwards. For a lot of men. And again, right, look at the age gap. Clearly that guy is quite a bit ways older than her, right? So she knew what she was doing, which is, it is what it is, right? Typically, right, if you're having that affair at work, for the woman, that guy's going to be older. And for the guy, the woman's going to be younger, right? Let's keep
Anything
going.
further?
Your Honor, can we get your assistance in having this thing compelled so that we can get this DNA testing done expeditiously?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And it will be done through the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
Because they are actually on site in the courtroom, and it will be in the courthouse rather. And it will be much easier and free to you all to go ahead and use their resource.
The judge confirms that before any child support is mandated, the alleged father is entitled to a DNA test. The court facilitates the process through the Attorney General's office, ensuring a free and expedited resolution.
Okay? If there's nothing further, you all are dismissed.
Thank you.
Rocky,
You're welcome.
if I have obligations here, I'll stand behind them.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, again, and I was just going to say this actually for this gentleman right here. You know, it didn't seem like he had an issue with paying the child support, right? It was the fact that he wants to make sure that the responsibility belongs to him. And I think he's due that. I'll probably do another follow-up on this video. I have to find out what happened here because I'm definitely intrigued. But again, gentlemen, just protect your neck out here. Especially when it comes to, you know, like I said, if you're doing affairs, things like this, even if you're not doing affairs, you just do not want to get yourself involved with these courts when it comes to child support and paternity fraud and all this other stuff. Because, you know, this guy seems like he at least was smart enough to not put his name on any documents before he gets that confirmation. But gentlemen, just protect your neck out here. At work, I personally wouldn't do it. You know, I've dated women before that I've worked with years ago, and then I just completely cut that off. I don't do that anymore. So I would just say, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And this gentleman was married, had an affair, and now he is in a dilly of a pickle, if you will. So yeah. Folks, I think we're going to leave it there. If you hear anything else about this case, put it down in the comments. Let me know. If I find anything, I'll just do another video on it. Until next time, folks, eat well, sleep well, be well. I will see you guys later. Peace.